Good morning, everybody. This is Grant Sparks, and today we're going to show you how to turn your leadership into legacy. Over the last few weeks or last few lessons, we've actually been working on how to become a leader, how to be a leader who's been on the sidelines, feels massively called to a mission or a purpose, and channeling that back into a movement, how to get your movement going. We even started this series by talking about how to be a cult. Now, let me turn this off. And how to take your cult to the masses. We started with that. And we shared over the last few lessons the LIGHT framework of leadership. We talked about how to lead yourself first, how to get in front of the mirror before you get in front of the microphone. We talked about illuminating the challenges, getting with some people who are emoting that they feel the same challenges you do, get with them and illuminate the challenges. Let them tell you what's going on, and that earns trust and rapport with a core group. Then we talked about gathering your core, gathering your crew. This is your initial group of people who believe in you, who believe that you have the sight to see what's wrong with the world, and you have the vision to cast, that people can follow that vision. LIG, gather your crew. And then in the last lesson, we talked about H, harnessing your message, the methods and the frameworks that we put together in order to get that message into the message itself, into the hands of this core crew, how to delegate it. We gave some pragmatic tools or systems you could deploy to deploy this core crew so that your message and your movement were expanding. And this week is the last step of the LIGHT framework, and that simply is T, transform your message into a movement. Basically, this is turning your leadership into legacy so that as your voice wanes, their voice continues. And this is the brass ring of any movement or cult or challenge or business or political movement or church or business. It's when the rest of the team basically takes on the mantle and runs with this mantle so that they can actually get the benefits and live this ideal future that you have shared with them, that they felt and sensed, but you gave words to. Long story short, my live studio is telling me about connecting. There we go. Long story short, man, something's up with my connection on TikTok there. There we go. Long story short, you are the one who gave words to the pain everyone was feeling. And the pain that they felt, but they didn't have words for. You came in and gave it words, gave it clarity, and then you painted vision on how to overcome that thing. And with that framework, that makes you the leader when people come to you for both the sight and the solution. And this last step is the step that most leaders fail in the earlier steps before they actually imbue that message into other people. But if they've made it this far, this is the biggest challenge, because at this point, leaders often fail because they start making it about themselves. They start seeing the rewards of society and start gathering and building up their little kingdom. And then they run with that on charisma as long as they can. And they get the boons of society, they get the rewards, and they, destroy the movement before it really had a chance to amplify. But that's not you. This is the moment that you actually take the mission, multiply. This is the moment of multiplicity, and get it into the hands of other people, and then they run with that message and mission. This is often referred to as the brand hijack. There's a fantastic marketing book, believe it or not, called Brand Hijack. I highly recommend it. It's over 10 years old, but it followed several anecdotes like how Red Bull actually had a guerrilla marketing moment, and the brand was ultimately hijacked by the fans of that brand. And that's what you want for your small business, for your political movement, for your church, for your nonprofit. You want people to take on the mantle of this thing and then run with it. And that is what we're covering today with our Expand Yourself framework. Before any of that, we're doing Morning Cup of Gratitude. You know we start with a Morning Cup of Gratitude because I know the days that I do not take a moment to start with gratitude, I actually have a completely different day than the days I do start with gratitude. My heart's different. My heart's open. Opportunities happen. I respond to those opportunities very positively. So take this moment in the comments. Tell me what you're grateful for, and I'll do the same so that we both start this day together, abundant-minded, synchronized, positive, and being a good finder, looking for good in the world. Because if you are not a good finder, Good morning, Gendalal Thana. If you are not a good finder, if you don't have a radar for what's going on good in the world, you will never take the next level you're trying to take in your cause, in your business, in your mission, in your ministry, whatever the thing is that's bubbling inside of you as a leader. Let's start with morning cup of gratitude. And please take this moment to share in the comments what you are grateful for, and I'm going to start. I am absolutely grateful. Hey, D on TikTok, how you doing? I'm absolutely grateful for your willingness as a leader to stick with me even a few moments, to be the first to walk out the vision of positivity, positive change that you see in the world. If you stop by this channel at all, you have a little bit of a radar for leadership, a little bit of a radar for a positive, more abundant future, what we call Hope Core. You know, or just what is not Hope Core? There's another frame for it. I'll have to come up with the word later. But there's positive, abundant vision of the future that you can participate in and that you sense. And so I am grateful for those of you today who, when something hits them wrong, they look for the positive thing that it could be. When there's unknown, you ask yourself, I wonder how this could be working out for good for us. When something you don't understand occurs, you assume, man, I assume that other people and this person and me, we're all doing the best we can, and there's a positive, abundant motive and outcome. Hope Punk. Oh, there's Nicole. Nicole said, Hope Punk. I cannot believe that phrase missed my mind. For those who are here today, you're not just part of Hope Core, but you're part of Hope Punk. Thank you for that, Nicole. But I believe that if you're showing up in this channel today, you absolutely believe that there is a more abundant future that you want to be a part of. And so I am grateful for you today, and I'm grateful for you to post in the comments what you are grateful for. I don't care if you're mad at your dog. I don't care if you're mad at your boss. I don't care if you're mad at your spouse. You can change how you feel right now by sharing with someone else. And I present for your consideration to share with me right here, right now. Please post in the comments, Raf Daddy 1 and TikTok. Tell me what you're grateful for. Nicole, if you're floating around somewhere, tell me what you're grateful for. Viewers on YouTube, I see you on Twitch. Tell me what you're grateful for so that we can say that thing out loud and change your state of being. Kelly Vanderstall on TikTok, tell me what you're grateful for. Depeche Roy, tell me what you're grateful for on Instagram so that we can celebrate that and you can change your state of being in a moment. Let's absolutely do that. And then let's talk about positive education hitting a tipping point in Australia. This only relates, I don't always do other news, but in other news real quick, there was a massive study at a school in Australia that when happiness became part of the core curriculum, next to productivity, for those who don't know, most of our public education is around productivity. How much, produce can we make in the world? How hard we work, what we can contribute. And there's obviously the conspiracy side of where our public education came from. And I don't believe it's conspiracy. I believe it's kind of nefarious in some of its origins, or maybe not malicious, but it's had some negative consequences on how public education treats students. But in Australia, they saw this problem and decided to do something about it. And what they decided to do was incorporate happiness and positivity as core values that were useful in the world. And those core values being useful in the world, how that actually affected the students' grades in other academic areas, and how it actually affected their outlook versus their nihilism versus their optimism about life after school, and whether they were hopeful or fearful or afraid. And I'm going to drop this link in the comments to this article because this is profound. When you incorporate happiness as part of your core curriculum, and I just posted it in the comments on TikTok, I'm going to post it in the comments everywhere else. Oops. Where is my article? When you incorporate happiness as part of your core curriculum, empirically, all other areas of academics go up. Empirically, students report a higher sense of hope, a higher sense of positivity, a higher sense of optimism about the future. And you got to do this before they're already copying an attitude. So they're starting to estimate. They said the only problem with this study is that it didn't start early enough, that the positive education did not start young enough, where they would get graded on how happy you are today. Did you control your happiness? And it taught that other people are not to blame for your happiness or frustration, that you are responsible for your own emotions. And when this was taught earlier, young people would not be so put out when someone bullied them or a parent accosted them. They realized that I could get in trouble, and the results of mine don't make it so that I deserve to be angry because I'm in control of my emotions. And if you could teach students early enough that happiness and emotional management for the individual leads to higher optimism of the future, and therefore higher grades, higher student participation, less nihilism, less suicides, less depression, less symptoms of ADHD. Honestly, some of the results of this study, which I put in the comments below, I put TTPS, I forgot the HTTPS there. They were realizing that there might be a correlation between ADHD as a diagnosis versus the result of discomfort in general, because there's nothing comforting about school. It doesn't lead to greater happiness. So check out the article. Let me get the correct link here because I left off the full link, and I don't want you to click the link and be like, hey, this doesn't exist. I'm going to put it there again. In all the other platforms, I'm going to put this there. Boom. In TikTok, boom. Check this out, because this has powerful implications for the average individual. Now, let's talk about the framework for transforming your leadership into legacy that lives beyond yourself. Let's talk about it. So we've talked about the problem so far. Most leaders feel wounded. If you've ever held a vision in your heart and you got other people going, and that vision is no longer happening, whether because you sold the business, closed the ministry, left the ministry field, broke up with the family separated. There's often vision around familial future, and there's divorces and separations, and that can crush a heart and crush a soul. There's businesses, there's political movements, there's just values that you want to see exhibited in the world. I pass a garden every single morning, right in downtown Lakeland where I live, on my way to downtown for coffee. There's a garden that was started as a community garden, and it's been neglected. Weeds overgrown. The raised beds are there. It's very sad looking. Someone started this with such a vision. There were people out there putting mulch out there and laughing on a Saturday morning, and it was beautiful out. And there was big giant sunflowers. And now it's just weeds and overgrown, and the wood around the raised beds is grayed. That is what happened to a lot of leaders at some point or another. And they stepped off the leadership field for whatever reason. They stopped leading themselves. They started hyper-fixating on something else, on themselves usually, on their pain, on something that has nothing to do with their leadership, and they're making that an excuse on why they're not leading any longer. I'm guilty of this in a big way. And a lot of leaders found themselves in the cave, but since COVID, and then again since AI, a lot of us are being hyper-convicted and therefore becoming uncomfortable in the cave experience. We're uncomfortable being disjointed from our leadership calling, and we feel ailing, and we don't feel good unless we're exhibiting, talking about, exercising, or taking some action in the vein of our leadership. And this is why I believe leadership comes from some other place. We could call it metaphysical. We could call it spiritual. I don't ascribe to any particular faith, but I do believe that there's an unseen component here where someone is called. Let's just call it from a spiritual level. They're driven beyond, normally, I'll tell you, I just want to sit on the beach. I just want to surf. I just want to close down everything I'm doing most days. And this is a confession, and it's a quite emotional confession for me. I just want to paint and surf. I don't necessarily want to always be here. I don't necessarily always want to build my businesses that are starting to grow and thrive. There's really good benefits there. But I am torn because I am driven by my internal values that if I believe in the thing, that I say I believe in, and that's goodness in the world, igniting lives of explosive significance, that's my vision, then I have to actively participate in that. If I believe that people are depressed and I see a need and I meet it, I am convicted in my core that each human being, as soon as they see a problem and are convicted, it is on them to create some kind of change. And I believe some of us were very gifted to lead other people. These are the people that I call natural leaders. Everyone, I believe, is called to lead in some way, shape, or form. But I am talking right now to the called leaders, the ones who at a spiritual level have been called to lead. You've been in the cave too long, and that's been the problem. But in the last few lessons, we've taken you out of the cave and taught you how to lead yourself. And we taught you how to get people burning and passionate like you are. Because again, you told us in one of the previous lessons that even if you stood on a street corner alone for the rest of your life, there is a message or a cause or a mission inside of you that you absolutely would do until the day you die, regardless of the following. You should have a following. We should grow into one, but you're that passionate about it, like I am, igniting lives of explosive significance. Those closest to me know that when someone lives below what they're capable, when they live on their baser self, my head spins and I about lose it because they are detracting from the world instead of making it better. And if we all just did 1% better, but all of us did it, this world would be light years ahead of the war and destruction and autocracy that we're seeing in the world today, right? So many people are taking moments to take from others and to dig at others and to tease others. Oh, I'm just joking. But they aren't spending time planting a garden, weeding that garden, nurturing that. But they just find ways to zing people because that's all they know how to do. They're hurt people, right? Leaders, we have moved from the cave in the last few lessons that we've been doing together. And we started sparking people around us. And we might even have, if you've been doing the homework and you are passionate about your vision, go back to the lessons if you're stalled out, or reach out to me and DM me directly. Mastermind says people don't care because they're selfish and destructive. There is no spiritual authority in our leadership anymore. Orange tint glasses. Oh boy. The most useful daddy. Good morning. These are my blue blockers. I appreciate you. Those guys are on TikTok, or those people are on TikTok. There is no spiritual authority in our leadership anymore. People just don't care because they're selfish and destructive. And Mastermind 2025, I completely agree. But why? I believe people, and everyone's going to disagree with me on this, and that's okay. I believe people are inherently good. I believe people are inherently good because they want good. Good morning, Wildleaf. Good to see you. Good morning, Depeche Roy. Good to see you. I believe people are inherently good and doing the best they can, but they have been so hurt, and hurt people hurt people. They have been so hurt that all they know is to take what they can get at the time. And it's not even malicious. It's just what they can do. Mastermind says in response, spiritual ignorance leads people down darkness because it makes them feel comfortable and safe. And Raf Daddy says, witness. I appreciate you, Raf Daddy. I appreciate you, Mastermind. It's totally true. Spiritual ignorance leads people down to darkness, but that's why the leaders, how can people know if people who are called to leadership and see it don't speak up and create a movement? And that's what we're talking about in today's leadership, the last step of transforming your leadership into legacy. So we're very well aware of the problem. But over the last few lessons, I've shown you how you can start your movement and start stepping out again. As a leader, start kindling other people's soul. Start urging people to speak up for the thing inside of them. Raf Daddy says, pay attention, everyone. Thank you, Raf Daddy. You earned a follow. I appreciate you. I'll follow you just after the show, Raf Daddy. Give me a follow. I appreciate it. We know that we are starting to absolutely burn and pulse. But here's the catch. If you stay with your core and you guys just commiserate with your core, if your core team who you've ignited, you've empathized with core problems that you see, you agree with a possible course of action, if you just meet to stitch in, bitch, and it doesn't go anywhere and it doesn't begin to live outside of you, this movement also will fail. This, whatever it's your political movement, your church, your small business, your cause, I don't care what it is, whatever you're leading, if you commiserate and it doesn't start living outside of you, it is doomed. So today we're talking about how to solve that. And I've given you some frameworks. Go back and watch the previous lessons for the other frameworks. I've got a quick 3-part framework right here that I use on how to keep it in mind, on how to make sure that your mission and message start to live outside of you. And if you have questions on leadership, you want to partner, if you got to bail, let me know. This will be here for the replay. The live will be here in TikTok and in Twitch and in YouTube or wherever you're at on Instagram. But we're also going to compile this. So reach out if you want to chat more about leadership. Here they are, the 3 steps or the 3 E's of getting the message from outside of you and your core team so it doesn't fester and then begin to turn negative, but starts turning into the movement that is basically changing your leadership to legacy. That if you got hit by a bus in your business, in your movement, in your church, in your message, I don't care, whatever your movement is that you're trying to lead, your cult, I don't care. If you got hit by a bus, I got your back on everything you've been preaching, brother, says Raf Daddy. Thank you, sir. Love it. If you follow these, especially at this stage of your leadership journey, from the cave to amplifying your message, from being stagnant as a leader to getting your core crew to developing your message, now we're talking about amplifying your message. E number 1, the 3 E's. You ready? E number 1, enable. This is where you equip your core team. If you've basically been studying anything particular, I've got a ton of books and I am not afraid to share them. A lot of this has been inspired by this book right now, Leading in Tough Times. There's another killer book called True Believer, fantastic book about movements. That's an example of me giving you the tools. I'm not gatekeeping anything, and you shouldn't either as a leader. A lot of us are just regurgitating and calling it leadership. We downloaded a course. We heard this one TikTok, and now we're just regurgitating. So we hide our sources, because if we really had to talk about it in depth as an expert leader in our field, everyone realized we're actually shallow. I do not mind sharing you the resources that I sit and consume. I'll show you my rows and rows of books and I'll give them to you because I am not afraid. In fact, if anything, when it comes to leadership, you want your following to surpass you. Jesus even said to the disciple who came up and said, or to the man who wasn't a disciple, it was a man who came up and said, good teacher. And he said, there are none good, not one. And he asked his question, and one of his points with that small phrase was, hey, listen, we're all in the same boat. Greater thing. And he also said, greater things than these shall you do. He's pushing his disciples and his followers to be better than he was. So he was unafraid of sharing his sources. So in this E, to enable other people, you will hand over the tools, the frameworks, the rituals, the prayer, the meditation, the journaling, your mentors. You will give it all into the hands of your core crew. And then you will challenge them. Schedule a meeting for this. You will give them some of your materials in some way, shape, or form, and then you will challenge them to co-create a toolkit or a mini guide, or a brand statement, or a mission statement, or a ministry statement, or a constitution, whatever is the thing. It's a value statement is a great place to start because that applies to small business, nonprofit, whatever your purpose or your drive is. But the action is that they help co-create this document. Remember, Jesus didn't write the Gospels or Paul's letters, right? The followers did. The same with Buddhism. The same with the Quran. The same with a lot of the documents out there that we consider sacred. They came from the 2nd-tier people, the 3rd-tier people. So to get your leadership to turn into legacy, you need to put the tools in your people's hands and challenge them to co-author and co-create your value statement, your brand statement. Put it on the calendar. That's E number 1. E number 2, echo. Create the echo. Create the ripples into the world. Challenge them to amplify the message. Let them practice. Hand them the microphone. You as a leader will begin to have limited moments at the microphone. Hand your followers the microphone. I remember the first time my mentor, and I'm no longer in the Christian church. I come from that background. I believe in God dearly. We could talk about my deconstruction another day. I love it. I love God. I love the people, but there were some challenges I have with it. But I remember it was so formative for me. I remember the day that my senior pastor handed me the microphone and said, "You ready, son?" and made me preach. Raf Daddy says they came from the witness, and the witnessing, their version is their testimony. That's powerful. Their version is their testimony. That's the power of other people. It's like getting a referral in business, a very lengthy referral, and let that carry if your followers or your witnesses testify. I think Christ even said, Raf Daddy, a man cannot testify of himself. Right? And this goes with E number 2, echo the message, encourage them. Hey, listen, give me a testimony and then tell me what you thought of the message meant. Tell me what the message meant to you. Raf Daddy says, that's right. So what can you do for this E number 2 echo? You give them your movement more megaphones. Like I said, hand them the mic, give them opportunities, bring them on the show, bring them on your podcast, get them to stand up and give the quarterly report to the board in your business or whatever. Let them talk about the politics that you've been nurturing if that's your thing. Whatever it is, give them the microphone. And then in private, if they want help cultivating, hey, I kind of stumbled on the message. That's okay, big dog. Let's talk. Let's figure out how to get it right. That's okay, big dog. Right? That's what we can do. And so here's your action to take. Invite your ambassadors or your core team to share their stories. Invite them to host dinner or sessions, depending on what type of movement you have. Invite them to put together meetings with the team if it's a business. Invite them for micro initiatives. Tell them, hey, what initiative? I challenge my team member Amber all the time. What can you do with the Spark website business? Nicole challenges herself all the time. She challenges me all the time. She challenges me all the time. What can we build? And add to Influencer Academy as that's growing and being embedded in universities. E, echo. Give the microphone to the team and let them express the message. Even if it's not perfect, let them go and make sure that they know we're going to coach on it later, but that's okay. Raf Daddy, fantastic phrase. Their version is their testimony. I'm going to take that, bro, and give you credit. Raf Daddy, I'm going to follow that. Last E number 3, and trust. Build ownership and trust. If it's a business, carve out ownership and profit share with your team. If it's a nonprofit movement, give them titles, put them on the board, put them on the front page of the website, celebrate people. Let the movement evolve beyond you by trusting them to adapt and lead. Put them over an initiative. Give them some followers. Ask them if they hosted a session, tell them to host that session, you co-host it, then host another session, pay for dinner that night. If it's a Bible study, if it's a political movement, you pay for dinner and then tell them to let them go on their own. I don't know if you remember, but Jesus sent them out 2 by 2, just like the ark. Said, go for it. Raf Daddy says empowerment. That's exactly it. E is to entrust them with the most important thing, which is the mission. So here is your action to take. This is the action to take. I've given you actions for each one. If that wasn't clear, I'll repeat them just a second. But the third action is this. Launch a community-led project where they lead it and you step back and support it. If they're hosting, some Saturday carnival to raise money for the church, you collect tickets or be in the photo booth. Don't be at the front. You let them MC the event. If they still need some of your charismatic leadership, come up with a Q&A session at a corner of the afternoon, but give them all the credit. If it's a business, have a community-led event. Put a listening session to the employees or to the clients. And then you just be a fly on the wall, or you say, how can I support it? How can I fund it? And time and again, and this is your role now. You spent all this time coming out of the cave and leading yourself and getting before the mirror, then the microphone. And then you illuminated the challenges. You nurtured them and asked them what the pain was. And you gave it language. And they were all feeling it, but you were the first one to give it words, inform it, and give it clarity. And then together you gathered your core and you delegated to gathering that core. And you said, come up with solutions. They came up with the solutions and they're starting to get inspired and believing this can happen. Your whole time, you were not solving this for them. Education comes from the Latin educo, which means to draw out from within. And a leader educates people, educates them by drawing out the greatness from within them, the solutions they have. That's leadership. And you did this, LIG. And then last time you helped them harness their message, you asked them, how can we get this message out? And some of them said my email list or my audience on TikTok or whatever it was, or my student body that I'm teaching. Or if I'm a commissioner in the city, whenever I'm up there, I'm going to talk about this thing or whatever it is. They harnessed the message. You extracted it. You helped them pull it out from within and give it action. And today you are now putting every tool in their hands. So your role as a leader has changed. Raf Daddy says, on it, brother. If we are rising and raising leaders, we are being solutionary. Ooh, Raf Daddy, with words. Solutionary is equal to visionary. Oh my God. I love that. Raf Daddy, you killing it. I love that. I love that. Your role has changed as a leader. It's gone from the cave-dwelling leader who sees everything but complains and no one really wants to be around. We call these the prophets, right? Throughout history, different types of prophetic people have been this way. They're there. They see things. They have a history. They're old and ragged and kind of cantankerous. Think of John the Baptist, any of these fools out there, right? But that transitions. And now you're this charismatic leader, and you have been for some time, this charismatic leader, where you were inspiring people. Now you're stepping back to being the encouraging leader, and you're spending more time with your disciples, empowering them. Hello, how many of the ancient faith leaders had this same arc? Raf Daddy said, you just described us, solutionary, visionary. I'm telling you. How many spiritual leaders had this same arc? They were cave dwelling, or they were out in the wilderness. Then they became charismatic and drew people to them. Then they started withdrawing more and more and praying and spending time with their core to disseminate the core because they knew their time was up. Here's the thing about being a visionary leader. You have to accept this. Even though you came out of the cave because your last venture failed, and by failed, I mean you weren't on a pedestal as the leader. Hello. We all secretly wrestle with ego if we were a born leader. We do. It's just a confession. We all wrestle with ego if we were a born leader. It's just true. And if we're good humans, we pull back now and again so that it doesn't take hold of us. If we're bad humans and in our villain era, we run with that, right? Either way, being leader on a movement will wane. Just like every empire rises and falls, every leader will rise and fall. Let's quit pretending it will go on forever. Why? Well, we see that we still celebrate people like Martin Luther King. We still celebrate people like Gandhi. We still celebrate people like Mother Teresa. We still celebrate people like Princess Di. We still celebrate people like Barack, who's still alive, right? Like, we still celebrate these people. But we have to admit, they all owned the fact that they would rise and fall. We get depressed as leaders when we begin to believe that we are forever. That is a villain. Once we heal our own ego, says Raf Daddy 1, once we heal our own ego, everyone else's is easy. That shit is true. Once we heal our own ego, everyone else's is easy. That is true. As a leader, you have to, at one point, release the movement, the business. You have to step back and let your GM take over or sell it. Eventually, you have to release the political movement and let the people run with it. Because if it's up to you, it will not get exponential. At some point or another, you have to release the ministry and hope that the people take it and run with it. And if it wanes, it wanes. There's some zen. There's some dualism that has to go with this because you did your best. And sometimes we fall short. But eventually, in this last fifth step of the LIGHT, leadership framework of light, in this phase, you have to trust, like jumping out of an airplane for skydiving or jumping off a cliff to dive into the water. At some point, you just have to let go. My hope is that the next time you let go, it's by decision and not destruction. My hope is that the next movement that you build, you decide to step to the side and give the microphone to the followers. You decide to step aside and give the credit where credit is due. And that is your message only exists because of other people, not because of your own brilliance. This is what we got wrong last time and why we got butthurt when the mission failed. Because we believed it was us. Listen, if I have a dualism inside of me, if I would rather many times be down by the beach surfing and painting and reading books and writing books, if I would rather do that, but I am here building on the mission because I feel a cause, I have to realize that I'm just a conduit. I'm channeling God, the divine, insight, the species, the oneness, who knows what you want to call it, but I'm just channeling and it's not really me, so that by the time you get to this point in your leadership, you should be willing to step to the side and let that inspire. The word inspiration comes from the Latin inspire. It means to breathe with the breath of life. You have raised other people from their spiritual deadness. Whether it's a business, it could be a business, a nonprofit, a political movement, doesn't matter. You've breathed life into them. Let them go now live. Raf Daddy says, I led for 10 years, went away for 10 years. Now I'm back. 4 years in. Raf Daddy, do me a favor. Drop a link to the thing you're doing, whether it's your profile, whether it's your business, whatever it is, whether it's your church, whether it's your nonprofit, whether it's your cause. Drop your link, Raf Daddy. I want to celebrate you. Thank you for participating today. I want to show you some love. Drop that link, please. Being back, it has an arc. Now, we might be doing the work we love. And that's fine. We need to pivot. We need to adjust our role. We need to maybe get involved in a different thing. But we got to turn the people loose that we've inspired because they deserve to live too. That was the whole point. E. What is it? Hold on. Enable. That's giving people the tools. And the action was co-create a community event of some kind and share the credit. Echo. E number 2, echo. Give your movement more megaphones. Put microphones and megaphones in the hands of your people. Let them start to speak out. Cultivate them and nurture them in private. And the action there is to invite them to host their own story, tell their own stories, host their own sessions, micro initiatives where they are leading. And then 3, entrust these things to them. Let the movement evolve beyond you by trusting them to adapt and lead. The message is going to evolve. Quit trying to control it before, after your time is done. Launch the community-led event and you be the door holder. You be the person carrying their bags. You help them. Know that it's time for you to begin to step away, and your power is in privately empowering them. E. You'll find these again. I'm going to drop this in the comments somewhere, and I'm going to compile this somewhere in the Spark Nation. Feel free to follow, like, subscribe, whatever you want. We'll get this to you. We're going to put this together in a framework because we have frameworks for every step of the way. We got actions for every step of the way. But here's the deal. Why am I talking about any of this? Why does this matter? The world, if you haven't picked up on this, is hurting. It's hurting for leaders. It's hurting for passion. It's hurting for strength. It's hurting for vision. Without vision, the people perish or cast off restraint, says another ancient text. People need leadership, and that's you. If you have stumbled onto this channel, that's you. The divine led you here. The species led you here. Oneness, inspiration, whatever. That's you. And I've been covering this for the last 5 lessons so that you are equipped to go from being a cave, a leader hiding from their position, hiding from their gift, to following the unction you're feeling and stepping out charismatically, and then passing the baton, and then rinsing and repeating. Because the world needs leaders to transition in a post-COVID world, a post-AI world, a post-job world. People are lost, and they need your help. They need your leadership. You've heard the E's. You solved the problem. You're not stoic anymore. You're engaged. You yourself are on fire, and I fully expect you to run with it. Take action on these lessons. Reach out to me and let me know how I can support your leadership journey. We're becoming equity partners for people launching their mission, launching their business, whatever it is you need. We have a website company, we've got a marketing company, we've got an influencer company, whatever you need. We do coaching and training, whatever you need. Let me know. But no matter what you do today, remember the mission. Raf Daddy says, your pain is your power. A bunch of killer hashtags. Raf Daddy, I'll check these out. Boise River Volunteers. I love it. So I know what part of the country you're in. Raf Daddy says, people are waking up more every day. Thanks to people like you, Raf Daddy. Thanks to people like you, leaders who are watching this later. No matter what you do today, remember the mission. Igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own. Have a great day. Take care, Raf Daddy. Thanks for hanging out.